What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are having a great day as always. If you guys haven't already hit subscribe, make sure you guys go ahead and do that. Well, let's go ahead and get into today's video. Today we'll be going over Dylan from Jeep Guys Online. He has a Jeep XJ, I believe it's a 2000s, pretty built. So this is going to be a video on how to build an XJ for under $5,000 and still have a pretty capable build that can do just about anything you want to do. So for starters, let's go ahead and go over the suspension, and we'll work our way from the underside of the Jeep up the side to armor and things like that. So as you guys can see, this thing is on a pretty decent sized lift. It's a 4.5-inch lift, and that brings you up fairly well. You get clear bigger tires than these on this Jeep, so I would definitely say the first thing to build a budget XJ that is still very capable would be getting a pretty solid lift underneath of it. This specific XJ is running a zone lift. Now, I do actually have experience with this company on lifts because it's actually the same exact lift that I'm running on my Grand Cherokee until we replace that. But like I said, definitely step one would be getting the correct lift underneath of it. That way you can clear some bigger tires, which will help you all around off-road. Now, once you have your lift installed, you're going to want to go ahead and get a setup of bigger, more off-road oriented tires and some wheels that you guys don't mind messing up when you're off-road. That'll give you much better performance off-road than your stock factory tires. This specific XJ is sitting on a set of 33-inch BF Goodrich all-terrain tires. Now, these tires have done pretty decent off-road. They're about what you would expect from an all-terrain tire, and the tread life is much better on an all-terrain than a mud terrain. That kind of comes down to your own personal preference when you go off-roading, whether you want mud terrains, all-terrains, what the exact setup you want is, whether you want bead locks, things like that. Those are all things to take into consideration, but as long as you upgrade to a more off-road oriented tire, whether that be all-terrain or mud terrain, and then you get some better wheels, you'll be good to go off-road. Another very important part when you're building an off-road build, no matter what Jeep, not let alone XJs, but any Jeep that you're building, is getting a solid front bumper that you can also run a winch on. That will help you when you're off-roading by yourself, which you're not supposed to do anyway, but we've all done it. That'll help you pull out your friend if they get stuck. I know me and Dylan, when we had the Grand Cherokee and XJ, used our winches all the time to pull each other out. But after you get lift, I would definitely go with some armor, such as front bumpers, and make sure that they're both compatible, that you can set up a winch on either one. Next on the list is a winch. So I know I touched on this topic earlier in the video, but you 100% need a reliable winch on your build. Now, you don't have to go out and buy the most expensive winch, but you need a reliable winch that you know is going to get you out when you get stuck in those situations deep on the trails and you need someone to pull you out. I would 100% do a winch within the first 3 to 4 mods I do on any Jeep I'm going to build. Now, after you get those mods taken care of, let's go over them one more time, would be lift, wheels, tires, and a good bumper set with a good winch that's reliable. You're kind of done with the major things, and the next couple things fall into, depending on how high you're going to lift your Jeep, how legal you're going to keep it for street driving, whether you're going to trailer it everywhere, keep it street legal, all of those things. So let's go ahead and hop into those things now. These fenders do a good job at keeping the tires inside of the wheel wells. This allows this Jeep to be street legal here in Maryland. Obviously, that's going to change depending on what state you're in. This Jeep is a Maryland Jeep, driven in Maryland. So we had to go ahead and follow those rules just to get this thing able to be driven on the street, since we don't tow it anywhere like that. Another more aesthetic look that he's done with this Jeep is smoked headlights and turn signals and side markers. These are honestly probably one of my favorite mods he's done to this Jeep. That's aesthetic reasons, and they look very good in my opinion. There it goes. Alright, so under the hood, he has a cold air intake. That just helps the engine breathe a lot better. It's kind of one of those controversial things. Some people say they do stuff, some people don't. So that's just kind of up to you if you want to install one. Personally, I think they're a pretty sweet mod that you can do for not too much money, and it changes the sound of the Jeep drastically. And another thing you can do for cooling, because XJ sometimes have some cooling issues, is you can make a like a summer hood with vents, louvers, any kind of setup you want. I've seen people use Wrangler hood vents on their XJs, all kinds of stuff. You can get custom vents, pretty much whatever you want. So you can get a ton of different things to help these things cool down. But under the engine, this is probably the most reliable engine Jeep's ever made, so I wouldn't go engine swapping mine personally. It's a pretty solid engine. I mean, the same engine I have in my Grand Cherokee, and that thing has 200,000 plus on it, and I believe this thing definitely also has 200,000 plus on it. So I would leave the engine as is, just help it cool down some. Besides that, under the hood, you're pretty much good to go there, so you don't have to spend a ton of money under the hood to make this thing good for off-roading and on-road use. Alright guys, so I hope that cleared up some questions you might have, or show you guys how you can build a pretty capable XJ on-road and off-road use, a very good daily driver for under $5,000. Feel free to comment below any different mods that you guys would recommend to other Jeep owners, and just things you guys would recommend that would still be a pretty budget-friendly build. Later down the line, I have a couple friends with pretty built XJs. We'll make a video on like full out if you just want to drop as much money as you have on an XJ. We'll make a video on that obviously as well. But this video is more for like a budget-friendly, different Jeep.